Good morning, everybody. It's Steve Brown from Mirae Asset Securities, Mirae Asset Live, Head of Institutional Sales. And joining us today, we have Mr. Eric Wang, who's the Vietnam Country Head of Marketing and Business Development for SHIMIZU. Eric, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Stephen.
Eric, SHIMIZU has a over 200-year very checkered and respected history, established in Japan in 1804. Could you please introduce the company, because it has a lot of development going on and investments in Vietnam?
Thank you very much, Stephen, for the introduction. We're very happy to be here to introduce ourselves. Japanese general contractors like ourselves have been not very vocal about our presence here. Because culturally, we are comparatively more introverted about expressing ourselves and sharing our views. But rest assured that we continuously dedicating ourselves to play our part in contributing to the countries where we have presence. Okay. SHIMIZU Corporation, we are a general contractors from Japan, garnering roughly 12 to 13 US dollar a year globally, providing a integrated planning, design, and build, real estate investment, and also maintenance. So it's a life cycle service from beginning to the very end to our clients. Just like a lot of corporates in Japan, we have a very long history. Okay, we have a heritage of 218 years. We established our company back in 1804, right? So our business is based on trust with our clients, with our partners, and our team. We also always thinking about to give back to the society and our partners. Right? And SHIMIZU has also invested a lot in globalization. We have about 24 offices around the globe. I have been very fortunate to be with the team, starting in China office, and then corporate headquarters in Japan, and then Taiwan, and international division headquarters in Singapore, and now in Vietnam, in charge of marketing, business development, and also strategic partnership alliance. So I find my experience in each of those previous countries really help in terms of strategizing our moves in Vietnam.
Thank you. That leads me on to my next question. Why Vietnam for SHIMIZU, and when? Okay.
Before I explain that, it's better for me to give you an overall picture. I think back in the 1970s and 80s, a sustained economic growth for Japanese economy. Right? So a lot of our long-term clients started to expand their business overseas. So we were asked to help build their facilities overseas together with our suppliers and some of the subcontractors. Okay, and this is how we expand our global presence. We also do a lot of ODA projects, so in so-called official development assistance. So those are the funds coming from Japanese government. The intention is to help developing frontier countries. So how we do it is that we keep developing together with local suppliers and local contractors on infrastructure, in building those infrastructures, and hoping that one day they will be able to build it by themselves, right? As a matter of fact, some of our subcontractors, when we first entered the market, are now the major general contractors in the market today. And we would like to keep doing it, just like, for example, in Singapore. We have been in Singapore for more than 40 years, since 1974, when we first established our office there. We have established our good relationship with the local government and also our partners in the ecosystem, while contributing to their development of infrastructure, right? We also build a lot of data center, social infra, and so-called, and also medical campuses. So we would like to bring this kind of synergy to Vietnam as well.
And you've done tremendous things, not only in Singapore, but regionally as well. One of the standout marquee projects you're a GC participant in was Terminal 3 of Changi, Singapore's airport as well. Now, so what differentiates SHIMIZU and your company from other GCs, particularly in Vietnam?
Okay. I think I still have to explain globally. SHIMIZU is one of the top general contractor from Japan by revenue. And we have been doing design and build and also investment for a long time. So our intention is to bring global standard quality through local practice to our customers. So SHIMIZU Corporation established its first R&D center. We call it SHIMIZU Institute of Technology back in 1944. So that was the first of this kind in the construction market. So this R&D center allows us to make sure that we stay on top of the construction technology, so we can improve and make it better on the site, right? So, for instance, okay, urbanization rate. If urbanization rate right now, where it is in Vietnam, is about 30%, when it goes up to 70%, like where China is, what we see is that the land price, along with average income, will go up. And also what we see is some of the factories and some of the industrial projects will be forced to move out of the city, further away from the city. So such facility would need to be built utilizing more cost-efficient technologies. For example, we have advanced prefabrication method, or we have automated system. We also have something called green float. It's a floating system. So it's an alternative way to reclaim land in a more environmentally friendly way. Matter of fact, we are talking to one of the big developers here about this technology. We also, in our R&D center, we have a very big wind tunnel together with a big shaking table. So those allow us to come up with technologies to countermeasure natural disasters like typhoon and earthquake. And also during the era of uncertainty like now, I think our financial strength would actually provide a big comfort to some of the developers, knowing that their contractors will look through their project to the end, to completion, right? So this is the type of value and trust that we're trying to bring to our clients to make sure that their facility have the best long-lasting quality with a minimal life cycle cost.
And one of your approaches is to help bring the economic capabilities of Vietnam, the corporate presentation of Vietnam. Sun Hoa Tower, one of the first iconic commercial office towers in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City. You're one of the principal GCs on that project as well, weren't you? So can you expand now on your Vietnam approach and philosophy?
Okay. I'm going to explain that in a more Japanese way.
Sure.
Right. So our business philosophy is based on what we hold as our credo. It's called the Analects and the Abacus by Mr. Eiichi Shibuzawa, who is also known as the father of Japanese capitalism. Okay. So this is his doctrine based on the inseparability of morality and economic activities. You can refer that as a business, right? Some of the modern Western thinkers might refer this ideology as ethical capitalism. Okay, so Shibuzawa said that wealth must be generated through morality, righteousness, and also humanity. Okay, he also said that instead of only considering the benefit to the individuals and companies, think first of the pursuits of the public good. So if you look at that, our company has long lasted its activity based on what is known today as CSR, and ESG.
And moving further along that field then, with a conscious eye on ESG and CSR, what opportunities are you looking for in Vietnam?
We see a lot of opportunity in development of infra, and also we call it social infra that comes after the infra, which is like medical projects or data centers, schools, right? And if we look into the FDI inflow, we still see a lot of opportunity, unique opportunity coming from outside, and also the portion that's flowing into manufacturing and processing. I see that those would be the good opportunity for us, and we're always open for any opportunities. Especially, we're always actively looking for partners, right? Partners who believe in creating good quality projects without cutting corners, who are looking for long-term relationship, right? So who believes in the promise of Vietnam. We have been providing our services to Japanese clients mainly, right? But we also hope that we can provide this value to other investors. We think that what we can provide to Japanese investor, we can also provide to the others.
That's kind of in keeping with the approach that some other large foreign corporates are now pursuing. They used to come in and do a project on their own, or with just a Vietnamese partner. But now I've seen over the last 10 years of being here, quite a few foreign direct investors who are doing, say, a real estate project. They will co-invest with fellow overseas specialists, you know, like Keppel Land in Tao Dien, and also in Tu Tiem. They've now got into Tiem with Gore Capital and also with Swire, a combined consortium there to develop the next phase of their Empire City project as well. So I think that's a good thing and a good approach, because combined strengths and collaboration, everyone can work together more efficiently, financially stronger, and also have a greater voice when collaborating with local contractors, construction companies, people's committees, and so on. So I think everyone can get aligned more smoothly that way as well. So FDI, you've noted, is one of the pillars of Vietnam, and the way that you're working with your extant team of Vietnamese clients is one of the things that stands your company out among your peers. It's a signal to me that there is an immense amount of interest by Japanese corporates in Vietnam, which is a fantastic thing to see, given, as you noted before, your founder's family is still involved, your corporate philosophy is embedded in CSR and ESG for 80 years. And I think, therefore, your views on Vietnam over the next 12 to 18 months would be very interesting to hear. Where do you see it going? Do you see some improvements coming through? We've had Decree 65 to help with corporate bond issuance transparency for the real estate scene, and any issuers of corporate bonds through that decree. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I think I'll break it down into two parts.
Yep.
One is our perspective on the next 12 to 18 months, and also what we think about the FDI. Okay. First of all, during this era of uncertainty, for us, it's very important that we manage and mitigate the risk that we have. And also, so is the cash flow. I think our team and our headquarters is doing a very good job trying to manage risk. They took a very quick action. Right? But Vietnam is actually in the center of all the discussion at the moment. But looking at the U.S. and the European countries, they're hit by inflation and recession, right? And Vietnam is impacted, well, because it's and also it has signed a lot of free trade agreements with different countries. So as it becomes more transparent and more connected to the world, it will be impacted. And however, we still believe that this is actually the place to be for most of the investors, right? Also looking at China's China Plus One strategy that encourages supply chain diversification, right? So we see that those are going to bring a lot of unique opportunity in as well. Going back to the FDI, we understand that Vietnam has become a very popular place for FDI, right? Because of its demographic dividends, because of its foreign policies, and maybe it's benefited from some of the ongoing geopolitical issues, right? All those reasons, we have plenty of reason to believe that Vietnam will, this accelerated economic growth will continue, as was in China, back in the early 2000s. Okay, so when we look into the growth between China to Vietnam, we see that there's a lot of similarity between the two in their development path, indicating that we can probably refer to the lessons from the Chinese experience and for doing business in Vietnam. Okay, for instance, after China joined WTO in 2001, we see infrastructures were being built at an incredible speed and pace, right? Also increasing labor force, skilled labor, right? And strong support from the government and execution to attract FDIs, becoming the world's manufacturing hub, right? So not only did China successfully attract those FDIs, but they also tremendously improved their domestic supply chain. For example, like coming up with their own corporate to replace FDI. Those are very, very important. Now, if you look at Vietnam, we understand that FDI accounts for 80% of its export, right? And even for it will increases to 93% for electronics. So we understand that Vietnam relies a lot on FDI for its exports. So continuing to attract FDI by catering and satisfying their needs will be very critical. We understand that multinational corporates are very environmentally conscious. They're compliance focused. They're looking for transparency in regulation, and also stability in, renewable power supply. So meeting those demands are probably going to be a big challenge for Vietnam, as well as the competition coming from these other Southeast Asian countries, rivals. Those are they also prioritizing their such demand to compete with Vietnam.
Yeah, some of the older rivals in ASEAN, like Thailand, for instance, and more recently after that, the Philippines, Malaysia, the Asian tigers of yesteryear, they're all trying to revitalize their economies, offering incentives for FDI. So you're right, Vietnam has a tremendous amount of existing FDI, has set up great FTA platform relations throughout the world. Australia looking at the FTAs, UK, Vietnam FTAs up and running. And I think if we were to say the next few processes to make Vietnam in general, in a broader sense, more attractive, we had a director of KPMG on recently, and Tim Kramer was talking about the full steam ahead consultancy and advisory that they're providing to Vietnamese corporates for IFRS, for instance, hoping to have it in place, everyone on board and good to go by 2025. They started phase 1 already last year for the implementation, advocacy and advisory on that. So you've mentioned corporate governance issues. You've mentioned it would be good if environmental awareness is at the fore of everyone's mind, ESG, CSR. And lastly, do you have any view on the outlook for things such as SHIMIZU getting into maybe the participation of doing stuff where you could become your own listed company, perhaps in Vietnam one day, or are you looking to keep doing your work as you do? Because one of the things that Vietnam would like to see is to attract companies to list in Vietnam. Are you looking at doing that in any other areas of SHIMIZU's operations? Have you ever done that, or are you only listed in Japan?
I think our company is open for any opportunity, but right now, looking at Vietnam, right now stability is our priority at the moment. Okay, so just to add on that, we have a great belief in Vietnam, and that is why we've been here for almost 30 years, and we will continue to be here. And what we're seeing right now, if we there's another fact that I found very interesting, that if you look into the trade value between China to the States and Vietnam to the States by sectors. When we look into that, we found a lot of interesting FDI that will be coming in. We call it like the China Plus Wave 2, are very likely to come in. So our team is getting prepared for that kind of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the factory relocation story is very much on everyone's lips. When will it restart? Because it was full steam ahead pre-COVID. Everyone was looking at relocating factories to all the industrial parks in Vietnam, and then COVID-19 came and it kind of shut that down a little bit. But speaking to some of my colleagues in various industries, real estate, and also who work at, say, VSIP and so on, they're getting a lot of inquiries, and they've also had now some new entrants come in as well, like the Danish Lego company, as everyone's familiar with, in VSIP for their $1 billion plus factory rollout. Eric, Wang, thank you very much for being on Mirae Asset Securities, Mirae Asset Live, and it's a pleasure to have such a prestigious company as SHIMIZU on. You're our first Japanese conglomerate, and it's a pleasure to have you on as our interviewee, and we would welcome you back in the future to give us an update on your company.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share our perspective. Thank you very much.
Have a good day, everybody. It's Steve Brown from Mirae Asset Securities, Mirae Asset Live.